The stars had always seemed peaceful to humans, but that night, the heavens were anything but calm. From the darkness of space, colossal ships emerged like shadows swallowing the light. They were sleek, black, and silent until the first explosions ripped through Earth's atmosphere. Cities burned, forests caught fire, and the oceans reflected the red glow of destruction. In a small village on the outskirts of what once was a bustling city, a young man named Kale held his little sister Mira tightly. Their home was gone, reduced to rubble by alien fire. The wind carried ash and smoke, making it hard to breathe. Mira's small hands trembled as she clung to Kale. "Kale, why are they hurting us?" she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. Kale's chest ached, his own eyes stinging with tears. He did not have an answer. There was no reason he could give that would make sense to a child. Instead, he looked out at the sky, at the enormous ships hovering above, and made a decision that would change his life forever. "They think we are weak," Kyle said quietly, almost to himself. "They think we will run. They think we will beg for mercy. But they are wrong." He tightened his grip on Mira's hand and led her through the rubble-strewn streets, avoiding alien patrols that scanned the ground with cold, blue lights. Every step was a fight to survive, every breath a reminder that humanity was under siege. Across the planet, other humans were fleeing or fighting, trying to save what remained of their families. Governments collapsed under the alien onslaught. Communication networks failed, satellites were shot down, panic spread like wildfire. Yet in the chaos, small pockets of resistance began to form. Humans were resourceful, and even in fear, they found ways to endure. Kyle and Mira reached an old church on a hill, a place that had somehow survived the initial attacks. Inside, a group of villagers huddled together, sharing stories of loss and survival. Kyle could hear crying, whispers of disbelief, and the occasional shout of frustration. People were scared, but they were alive, and that meant there was still hope. Kale knelt beside Mira. "We need to stay strong," he said, though his own voice wavered. "We cannot let them break us. We cannot let them win." Mira nodded, trying to be brave, though her eyes reflected the terror of a child who had seen her world destroyed. Kale felt a surge of anger, sharp and burning. He looked at the stars again, at the alien ships that seemed untouchable, and whispered a promise. "One day, we will make them pay. One day, they will learn what it means to underestimate humanity." That night, as humans around the world hid in basements, forests, and abandoned buildings, the aliens celebrated their conquest. Zorath, the leader of the fleet, hovered in his command ship, watching the chaos unfold through a massive holographic screen. He sneered, confident in his victory. "These humans are weak, fragile. Soon this world will belong to us." But he did not see the spark that had ignited in human hearts, the quiet determination that refused to bow to fear. Kale spent the night making plans. He scavenged supplies, helped the wounded, and encouraged those around him. Each act of courage, each small victory, reminded him that humans were not as weak as the aliens believed. Strength did not always come from firepower. Sometimes it came from hope, from the unshakable will to survive, and from the bonds between people. In the days that followed, news of other survivors reached Kale. Communities were forming, resistance cells were communicating secretly, and humans were learning to fight back, even in small ways. They hid in mountains, used old technology in new ways, and observed the aliens, studying their patterns, their weaknesses. Every day, humans grew stronger, more organized, more dangerous. Kale looked at Mira, asleep under a tattered blanket, and promised silently, "I will protect you. I will protect everyone I can. And one day, We will make them regret the day they came here. He did not know how it would happen or when, but he knew that humans were capable of things even the aliens could not imagine. And deep inside, a fire burned. A fire that would not be extinguished until Earth was free again. For now, humans survived. For now, they waited. But the aliens had already made a grave mistake. They had underestimated the one thing that made humanity strong. And soon, they would learn, the hard way, that when humans give a warning, it is never an empty threat. The morning after the first attacks, Earth was quiet in a way that felt unnatural. Smoke still curled from ruined cities, and the air was thick with ash. Yet in hidden corners of the world, humans were stirring. They were battered, bruised, and exhausted, but they were not defeated. The fires of fear burned, yes, but so did a new flame, the desire to fight back. Kale moved cautiously through the outskirts of the village, guiding Mira and a small group of survivors toward an abandoned warehouse. Inside, they found others, farmers, engineers, teachers, even soldiers who had escaped the initial invasion. Eyes were filled with fear, but also with determination. Kale spoke to them with calm authority. We may have lost our homes, but we have not lost our will. We are still human, and humans survive. His words, simple as they were, ignited something in the hearts of those listening. Meanwhile, Zorath's fleet moved closer to Earth's core cities, confident that no resistance could stop them. They had seen destruction, had witnessed humans falling before their overwhelming firepower. To them, Earth was theirs. Yet even, in the shadow of these immense ships, humans were quietly preparing. In secret labs, engineers worked tirelessly, combining old Earth technology with new designs, creating weapons that could challenge the alien invaders. Drones, stealth devices, and energy disruptors. All inventions born from desperation, fear, and hope. Kyle and his small group began to scout the alien patrols. They observed the aliens carefully, noting their patterns, weaknesses, and the way they relied on technology for every action. Kyle realized that humans, clever and unpredictable, could strike where the aliens least expected it. It would take courage, skill, and careful planning, but it could be done. In the evenings, the group gathered in the warehouse. Fires crackled, and the air smelled of burnt wood and oil. Stories of loved ones lost, of homes destroyed, of lives shattered, filled the air. Yet among these stories, a common thread emerged, a refusal to surrender. Kyle listened to each story, letting the grief fuel his determination. He spoke softly but firmly. We may be fewer, we may be scattered, but every life here, every mind here, is part of something greater. Together we can fight. Together we can survive. Days turned into weeks. Kale trained with the survivors, teaching them to move silently, to observe keenly, to strike effectively. Each human learned that strength did not come from sheer power, but from cleverness, teamwork, and unbreakable resolve. Kale himself grew too. Fear still lingered, but it was sharpened into focus. Every day he thought of Mira, of his friends, of the millions of humans under threat, and he swore to protect them all. One night, Kale and his team encountered an alien patrol near a ruined city. The creatures were large, armored, and confident. Humans had no heavy weapons, no massive fleet, only their courage and cleverness. Kyle signaled his team, and they used the environment to their advantage, collapsing buildings, cutting off escape routes, and striking swiftly. The aliens were caught off guard. Though a few humans were injured, they had achieved their first small victory. Word spread quietly among the hidden survivors. Humans could fight back. As news of these daring attacks traveled, other resistance groups began to coordinate. They sent messages through hidden networks, shared strategies, and discovered that even the smallest efforts could have a ripple effect. Sabotage of alien supply lines, liberation of captured humans, and strategic ambushes became more frequent. Kale realized that the aliens had underestimated one thing above all: human ingenuity. Yet even in these moments of hope, Kale knew the cost of war. He saw the fear in Mira's eyes when distant explosions shook the night. He watched villagers, who had survived the initial attacks, break down from grief. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. Every decision mattered. Every action could mean life or death. And still, he pressed forward, because to stop was to lose everything. One evening, as Kale prepared a plan for a larger mission, he looked at the stars above. The alien fleet shimmered like a dark storm, vast and threatening. But among the humans hiding in shadows there was light, determination, courage, and unity. Kyle whispered to Mira, who had curled up beside him. "We are humans, and humans are never so weak as they think. One day they will learn that lesson." That night the fires of rebellion burned quietly in the hearts of humans across the world. They were outmatched in power, outnumbered in forces, but their spirit could not be broken. Every small act of courage, every clever strike was a promise. Humanity would fight. Humanity would endure. And one day humanity would show the aliens that when humans give a warning, it is never empty. The first sparks of resistance had been lit. And though the road ahead was long and dangerous, humans were ready to walk it together, fierce, unyielding, and full of hope. The alien fleet continued to dominate the skies above Earth, their massive ships casting shadows over cities, forests, and oceans. Yet in hidden corners of the planet, humans were no longer hiding in fear. They were planning, observing, and preparing. Kale had grown into a quiet leader, a beacon of hope for the survivors around him. His eyes, once full of sorrow, now burned with determination. Word had spread among resistance groups of a plan that could change everything. Humans would issue a warning to the aliens. Not a cry of fear, not a plea for mercy, but a message of strength. Kale understood the weight of this task. If the aliens laughed, ignored, or attacked, it would mean risking lives. But if the aliens listened, it might buy humanity the time they needed to prepare the counterstrike that could save the planet. A small human fleet, a mixture of scavenged spacecraft and newly built prototypes, assembled in the outskirts of the Pacific orbit. Engineers checked every system, soldiers reviewed every maneuver, and pilots ran simulations repeatedly. Kale climbed aboard the lead ship, his heart pounding. Mira, though too young to fight, had insisted on being there, her hand clutching his for courage. "Will it work?" she asked softly. Kale looked at her, a gentle smile breaking through his stern expression. "It has to," he said, "because even if it doesn't, we have something they will never have: the will to survive." The humans approached the alien patrols cautiously. Sensors picked up multiple alien ships patrolling the area. Kale's voice echoed through the comm system. "Remember, this is a warning. No attacks unless absolutely necessary. We need them to understand who we are before we show them what we can do." Every pilot, soldier, and engineer nodded. Fear lingered, but determination was stronger. When they reached the alien fleet, Kale transmitted a message directly to Zorath's flagship. The words were simple, calm, but carried the weight of a species united. "We know you see us as weak. We know you think we are easy to destroy, but we are humans. And when humans give a warning, it is never empty. Leave this world or face consequences you cannot imagine." The message ended and silence followed. The alien ships hovered, their crews watching the humans on the small screens. Zorath's eyes narrowed as he heard the transmission. He laughed, a deep mocking sound that echoed through the command hall. "Humans are weak. This is nothing but a bluff," he said. "Destroy them. Leave no survivors." Kyle watched as the alien fleet began to move aggressively, circling their position. He had expected this. Every human in the fleet held their ground, ready for the inevitable clash. But Kale noticed something in the alien movements, a hesitation, a flicker of uncertainty. They had not experienced this before. Humans who stood tall in the face of overwhelming power. Humans who dared to speak with confidence, even when facing extinction. That night, Kale and his team returned to Earth orbit after the warning. There was relief that no immediate attack had occurred, but tension lingered. They knew the aliens had dismissed the message as a bluff, but somewhere deep in their minds the seed of caution had been planted. The humans had spoken. They had shown that even against impossible odds they would not bow, they would not beg, and they would not hide. On the ground, resistance groups celebrated quietly. Small victories like the warning mission were powerful symbols. Humans had acted boldly, showing the aliens that they were not simply prey. Among the survivors, hope flourished. Children whispered stories of bravery. Adults shared plans for defending their towns, and Kale's leadership inspired others to take risks for the sake of the planet. Yet Kale knew the truth. The warning had bought them time, but it had also provoked the aliens' curiosity and anger. Zorath would not forget the defiance, and humans, scattered and battered though they were preparing to face the full weight of alien retaliation. Every strategy, every hidden weapon, every trained soldier became more crucial than ever. Kale felt the responsibility settle on him like a heavy mantle. One mistake could mean total destruction, but one clever strike could turn the tide. In the quiet moments of the night, Kale often found Mira staring at the stars. "Do you think we can really win?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. Kale knelt beside her, brushing ash from her hair. "We have to believe we can, because humans never give up. We survive, we fight, and when we give a warning, it is never empty." His words were more than comfort. They were a promise, a vow to every human, every life on Earth that their courage would not be in vain. The stars twinkled above, indifferent to the small humans below. But the humans had already changed. They were no longer passive victims. They had spoken, they had warned, and though the aliens had laughed, the universe had begun to notice something remarkable. When humans gave a warning, it carried the weight of unyielding resolve, and it would be answered. Kale gazed at the alien fleet in the distance, his eyes burning with purpose. The battle was far from over, but humanity had taken the first true step toward reclaiming their world. The spark of rebellion had grown into a flame, and soon, the aliens would learn what it meant to underestimate humans, again. The skies above Earth were heavy with alien ships, but the humans no longer trembled. They had spoken their warning, and though it had been dismissed with laughter, it had marked a turning point. No longer would they simply hide. Now they would strike. Kale led a small team through the ruined forest outside a major alien base. Trees, scorched and broken, provided cover, and the shadows of night concealed their movements. Each step was deliberate, each breath measured. Mira had insisted on staying nearby, hiding in a protective bunker, while Kale and his soldiers moved forward to set the ambush that could change the course of the war. The plan was simple in design, but deadly in execution. The aliens relied heavily on their technology, their sensors, and their patrol routines. Humans would exploit every predictable pattern, using traps, explosives, and clever misdirection. Kale checked his team's weapons, their energy disruptors humming softly in the dark. He looked at each soldier and spoke quietly yet with power. "Tonight we show them that humans are not just survivors. We show them that we are hunters, and hunters do not forget." The alien patrols moved as expected, their heavy boots clanging against the ground, their armor reflecting faint moonlight. Humans held their positions, hearts pounding, waiting for the perfect moment. Kale's eyes narrowed as he spotted the lead patrol approaching the first trap. He gave the signal. A small explosion rocked the area, collapsing a structure onto the aliens. Chaos erupted. Screams echoed, but the humans moved swiftly, striking from the shadows. The ambush was precise. Aliens tried to regroup, but every route was covered, every movement anticipated. Humans struck with precision, not brute force, exploiting weaknesses the aliens had never noticed. Kyle moved through the battlefield like a shadow, guiding his team, protecting civilians, and ensuring every action counted. In the center of the alien base, Kyle found captives, humans who had been imprisoned for weeks. Their eyes widened in disbelief as Kyle freed them. "You're safe now," he said, his voice calm but full of authority. "We are humans, and we never forget our own." Relief and tears mixed on the captives' faces as they stumbled toward freedom. Outside, explosions continued to shake the base. Aliens scrambled to respond, but their tactics were rigid, predictable. Humans had learned their movements, their habits, their weaknesses. Every strike by the resistance was both a rescue and a lesson. Defiance could succeed even against overwhelming odds. Kale paused for a moment, looking over the battlefield. Smoke rose from destroyed machinery. Alien ships burned in the distance, and the night was alive with the sounds of human courage. Mira, safely watching from the bunker, felt a mixture of fear and pride. She understood now what her brother had meant when he said humans never forget. Tonight they were showing the aliens exactly why. Yet even in victory, Kale knew this was only the beginning. Every alien defeated was replaced by others, more disciplined and more numerous. The fleet above Earth had not been destroyed. The real battle was still ahead. But tonight humans had proven something important. They could fight, they could outthink, and they could survive. Kale gathered his team after the ambush. They were exhausted, bruised, and shaken, yet their eyes shone with determination. "We've sent a message," Kyle said. "This is just the start. They will remember this night. And we will continue to show them what it means to underestimate humans." The soldiers nodded, understanding that this small victory carried a larger weight. It was not just a tactical success, it was proof that humans could stand against the impossible. As the sun began to rise over the ruined landscape, Kyle looked at the horizon. Smoke still spiraled from the alien base, but in the hearts of humans there was hope, courage, and unyielding resolve. Each small victory, each clever ambush, strengthened the belief that the war could be won. Humans were not just fighting for survival. They were reclaiming their dignity, their honor, and their world. For Kale, the ambush was more than a tactical operation. It was a statement to the galaxy. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and relentless. And as long as the humans of Earth continued to fight together, no alien fleet, no matter how vast, could crush their spirit. Tonight, humans had reminded themselves and their enemies of one unshakable truth. When humans give a warning, it is never an empty threat. And when humans decide to fight, the universe itself can tremble before them. The alien fleet above Earth had grown restless. Reports from patrols and destroyed bases reached Zorath like a storm of bad news. The humans were clever, relentless, and far more dangerous than he had imagined. Every strike, every ambush, proved that these fragile creatures were not the weak prey he had assumed. Kyle stood on the deck of a human command ship, staring at the approaching alien armada. The fleet was vast, black, and cold, but he did not falter. Every human around him, soldiers, pilots, engineers, knew what was at stake. They had survived impossible attacks, rescued captives, and struck fear into the alien patrols. Tonight they would show the aliens that the warning had not been empty. It had only been the beginning. The humans had learned to adapt. Old technology was repurposed. Small ships were equipped with stealth devices, and energy disruptors targeted alien shields in ways no alien engineer could predict. Kale's team had studied the enemy tirelessly, learning their weaknesses and turning them against the invaders. It was a war of brains as much as strength, and humans had both in abundance. The first wave of attack began at dawn. Human ships darted like shadows between the larger alien vessels. Explosions erupted as critical systems on alien ships were sabotaged. Confusion spread through the enemy ranks. Zorath roared in frustration as his flagship took damage from attacks he could not anticipate. How is this possible? He shouted. These humans, they are supposed to be weak. Kale led a daring strike against the alien supply lines. His team infiltrated enemy convoys, planting explosives and disabling energy cores. Every mission was precise, every action deliberate. Humans struck fast, vanished, and struck again, leaving destruction in their wake. The aliens struggled to respond. Their massive fleet, built for domination, could not match the unpredictable strategies of human fighters. On the ground, humans sabotaged alien outposts and freed captured humans. Survivors joined the fight, swelling the ranks of the resistance. Every act of defiance, every small victory sent a clear message. Earth was not conquered. Humanity had risen from the ashes of devastation, and it would not bow to alien tyranny. Kale moved through the battlefield with a calm intensity, guiding his soldiers and saving lives whenever possible. Mira, now older and stronger, assisted with communications and logistics, ensuring that every team coordinated effectively. Together, humans demonstrated that strength was not measured by size or firepower alone. It was measured by courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to surrender. Zorath's frustration grew. The humans' attacks were relentless, methodical, and devastatingly effective. His pilots were confused, his strategies failing, and his confidence shaken. For the first time, he understood that humans were not merely survivors, they were warriors, capable of punishing even the most advanced alien technology. Kyle's squad launched a decisive strike on one of the alien command hubs. Using stealth and precision, they disabled communications, crippled shields, and left the hub in ruins. The impact was immediate. Alien patrols became disorganized, their reinforcements delayed, and fear began to ripple through the enemy fleet. Humans, once thought to be powerless, now dictated the pace of the battle. Even as victories accumulated, Kale felt the weight of responsibility. Each mission carried risk. Every human life mattered. He knew that their fight was not just for survival, but for justice, for revenge, and for the promise that no alien would ever underestimate humanity again. He remembered the countless lives lost, the cities burned, and the families torn apart. Every explosion, every sabotage was a step toward balance, a step toward reclaiming their world. By nightfall, the humans had forced the aliens into retreat. Ships burned in orbit and chaos reigned among the once confident fleet. Zorath, enraged and humiliated, realized that his previous underestimation had been catastrophic. These humans were more than clever. They were unstoppable when united, and every warning they had given now rang with deadly truth. Kale stood on the deck of his ship, watching the stars where alien vessels scattered. Exhaustion weighed heavily on him, but so did pride. Humans had survived, had struck back, and had proven themselves to a galaxy that had dismissed them. Mira approached him, her eyes shining. "We did it," she said softly. Kale shook his head, a small smile crossing his face. "This is just the beginning." But today they learned what it means to challenge humans. The fires of resistance burned brighter than ever. Across Earth, humans celebrated victories, mourned losses, and prepared for the battles to come. Kale knew the aliens would return, stronger and angrier. But he also knew something the aliens could never understand. Humans fought with heart, with intelligence, and with unshakable will. Tonight, the humans had proven that when they give a warning, it is never an empty threat, and they would continue to fight, relentlessly, cleverly, and with all the fury that only humanity could bring. The alien flagship hung like a dark star above Earth, massive and intimidating. Zorath's presence radiated control, arrogance, and rage. He had underestimated humans for the last time, and now the full force of humanity's fury was coming straight for him. Kale stood at the helm of the lead human ship, his eyes fixed on the massive vessel above. Every heartbeat echoed in his chest as he prepared for what could be the most dangerous mission of his life. Beside him, his team of elite soldiers adjusted their equipment, checked weapons, and exchanged silent nods. Mira monitored communications, alerting them to alien movements and relay channels. The humans had fought many battles already, but this was different. This was no small ambush, no sabotage of supply lines. This was a direct confrontation with the leader of the alien invasion. The stakes could not have been higher. Kyle's mind drifted for a moment to the first night the aliens had attacked their home. He remembered the smoke, the screams, the helplessness. He remembered Mira's frightened face and the silent promise he had made, to protect, to fight, and to avenge. That memory fueled every decision, every plan, and every step he took toward the alien flagship. The human fleet moved in formation, fast and silent, using stealth devices to avoid early detection. Kyle's ship led the charge, weaving through debris and asteroid fragments in space. The aliens had expected fear, submission, maybe even surrender. Instead, they found cunning, precision, and an unyielding determination they could not comprehend. When they reached the alien flagship, the battle erupted. Explosions rocked the hull as human ships struck weak points. Energy disruptors tore through shields and boarding parties clashed with alien soldiers. Kale and his elite team teleported onto the vessel, navigating dark corridors filled with alien guards. The smell of burning metal and ozone filled the air, but Kyle did not falter. Every strike was calculated, every movement deliberate. Humans were not the strongest physically, but they were the smartest, fastest, and most determined. Finally, Kale reached the command room. Zorath stood there, massive, armored, and dripping with arrogance. "You are nothing," Zorath roared, his voice shaking the walls. "You cannot defeat me." Kale stepped forward, plasma blade in hand, voice steady and fierce. "You should have listened to the warning," he said. "You underestimated humans, and now you will pay." The battle was brutal. Zorath struck with incredible strength, but Kale was agile, striking from unexpected angles. The room shook with each blow, sparks flying as metal clashed. Human soldiers fought alongside Kale, pushing the alien guards back, buying him the seconds he needed to face Zorath alone. Every movement, every strike, carried the weight of vengeance for Earth, for the fallen, and for every human who had suffered. Finally, with a combination of courage, strategy, and raw determination, Kale found his opening. With a powerful strike, he drove the plasma blade through Zorath's armor. The alien leader staggered, disbelief and shock in his eyes. The flagship shuddered as systems failed, alarms blaring, and the remaining alien crew scattered in panic. Kale stood over the defeated Zorath, breathing heavily but unbroken. Humanity had struck its final blow. The aliens, leaderless and disorganized, fled into space. Their fleet scattered, and the threat that had once loomed over Earth was broken. For the first time in months, silence fell. The galaxy had witnessed the fury of humanity, the cleverness, courage, and unyielding resolve of a species they had once dismissed. Kale walked among the survivors, helping the wounded, comforting the scared, and reassuring the brave. Mira ran to his side, hugging him tightly. "You did it," she whispered. Kale smiled, tired but proud. "We did it," he corrected. "All of us. Every human who fought, every life lost, every act of courage, we won this together." As the alien flagship drifted in ruin above Earth, Kale looked at the stars. The humans of Earth had faced annihilation, and yet they had survived, had struck back, and had won. Their warning had not been empty. Their strength, unity, and determination had reshaped the fate of the planet. Tonight, Earth was free, but Kale knew that the memory of the fight would linger forever. Humans had shown themselves, and the galaxy, that when humanity gave a warning, it was never a bluff. It was a promise, a threat, and a lesson that could not be ignored. The alien fleet was gone. The massive ships that had once blotted out the stars were either destroyed or fleeing, leaderless and broken. Earth, though scarred and battered, was alive. Cities lay in ruins, forests had burned, and oceans were polluted with debris. But humanity had survived. And surviving was only the beginning. Kale stood atop a hill overlooking his village, now partially rebuilt. The sun rose slowly, casting golden light over the shattered landscape. He could see people emerging from hiding, carrying supplies, helping the wounded, and cleaning the rubble. Their faces were tired, but their eyes shone with something that had been lost for a long time. Hope. Mira ran up beside him, her hands stained with dirt and soot. "It's over," she said, breathless but smiling. Cale placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's never really over," he replied gently. "There will always be threats, but humans, we survive, and we fight. That's what makes us strong." Across Earth, humans began the enormous task of rebuilding. Villages were reconstructed, families reunited, and communities formed stronger bonds than ever before. People shared stories of bravery, of clever tactics, and of small victories that had saved lives. Every survivor carried memories of loss, but also memories of courage and determination. Cale walked through the streets of his village. He saw children playing again among the ruins, adults working together to clear debris, and elders teaching young ones lessons of resilience. He felt a swell of pride, not just for his village, but for all of humanity. They had faced an enemy that seemed unstoppable, and yet through cleverness, courage, and unbreakable spirit, they had prevailed. In the skies above, small human fleets patrolled cautiously, ensuring that no alien threat returned. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged spacecraft, improve weapons, and train the next generation of defenders. Humanity had learned a harsh lesson, but it had also discovered its own incredible strength. Kyle knew that the universe would no longer underestimate them. He paused at the edge of the rebuilt town square, watching as people carried supplies and helped one another. Mira sat beside him on a fallen stone wall, her small hands holding a tattered flag of Earth. "Do you think they will come back?" she asked quietly. Cale looked at the stars, then at his sister. "Maybe, but if they do, we will be ready. We will fight smarter, harder, and together. We are humans, Mira, and humans never give empty warnings." The story of the battle spread beyond Earth. Other species in the galaxy had watched humanity's courage and determination, many for the first time. They realized that humans were clever, relentless, and unpredictable. The species that had been underestimated, mocked, and dismissed had become a force to be respected. Humanity had sent a warning, and the galaxy had learned its lesson. When humans say something, they mean it. Cale looked at the children playing, the workers rebuilding, and the soldiers training. He felt the weight of every life lost, every friend who had fallen, and every sacrifice made. But he also felt hope. Hope that humanity would never forget what they had endured, and hope that they would never allow fear or doubt to dominate them again. That night, as Earth's people lit small fires to honor those who had fallen, Kyle stood quietly on the hill with Mira. The stars twinkled above, endless and serene. "We fought with everything we had," he whispered. "We survived because we refused to be broken, and we will continue to protect our home, our people, and our planet. Always." Mira rested her head on his shoulder. "Humans are amazing," she said softly. Cale smiled, a mixture of pride and sorrow crossing his face. "Yes, we are. Not because we are the strongest or the fastest or the most powerful, but because we never give up. And we never forget. That is our strength. That is what makes us human." Across the planet, humanity celebrated, mourned, and rebuilt. Every village, city, and outpost carried the memory of the fight, and the reminder that Earth was defended by cleverness, courage, and unity. The warning had been given, the lesson learned, and the universe had been reminded that humans were a force that could never be ignored. Cale looked at the horizon, the wind blowing gently through the trees, carrying the scent of fresh earth and new beginnings. The scars of war would remain, but so would the spirit of humanity. And as long as humans stood together, clever, brave, and unyielding, no enemy, no matter how powerful, could ever truly defeat them. And so, Earth was free. The aliens had fled, the humans had survived, and a single unshakable truth echoed across the galaxy. When humans give a warning, it is never an empty threat.